First story I'm going to show you is about veterans with PTSD coping with 4th of July fireworks.
Fireworks exploding on Independence Day may cause many to look on in awe, but for veterans living with PTSD, the booming noises are a traumatic reminder.
For some veterans, it can be disturbing, can make you angry, depends on the state of mind you're in. Now that I have my dog with me, though, I'm a lot more comfortable during times like that.
The irony is not entirely lost on America's heroes. While wanting to be patriotic and partake in festivities, the inevitable trigger is not worth it.
The explosion in some people, in my case, I can only speak for me, in my case, it puts you right back because, especially if it's unexpected, bang. Jump and you're ready to duck, basically what you were trained to do.
There is still a stigma surrounding the disorder, with many cases going unreported and undiagnosed.
There is a certain integrity and a certain toughness about war veterans, and they would like to be able to say, well, yeah, I'm tough. I defended our country, and I am this person who should be able to manage this or take care of this.
One nonprofit is trying to address the issue. The group Military with PTSD sells yard signs like these to raise awareness among the public.
We always tell civilians, we tell everyone, we don't want to stop fireworks. It's never been the intent of this sign. Veterans do not want you to stop celebrating their freedoms.
Even with possible solutions for those who have experienced the trauma of war and confronted PTSD head on, the scars never go away.
The war is never over. Because your mind always brings it back to recollection.
Some suggestions to cope with the noise of fireworks around the holiday include hanging out with family and friends you feel comfortable with or listening to loud music to drown it out. In Las Vegas, Andrew Kraft, Fox News.
All right, Andrew, good reminder there, and thank you to everyone who has served or is currently serving. I feel today is a very appropriate day to say thanks yet again. Meanwhile, going to get you to some serious headlines here from Arizona from yesterday into today. So 3 local stories coming your way. This first one in regards to a 92-year-old woman who has been arrested. She is accused of killing her 72-year-old son because he was talking about putting her in an assisted living home.
92-year-old Anna Mae Blessing going before a judge this morning to face several charges against her.
You are here in a new Superior Court case alleging 1 count of murder in the 1st degree. It's a Class 1 felony. 1 count of kidnapping, a Class 2 felony, and 1 count of aggravated assault involving a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. That's a Class 3 felony.
Blessing is accused of killing her 72-year-old son. This all stemming from talks of putting her in an assisted living facility. Police say she shot and killed him Monday in their Fountain Hills apartment. According to court paperwork, she told police she'd been up for 3 or 4 days thinking about what her son had said. On Monday, her son was asleep when she went into his room and began arguing with him. She pulled out a gun from her robe and shot him. She shot him a second time and he fell to the ground. After this, she checked for a pulse and realized she killed her son. Her son's girlfriend was able to wrestle the gun away from her. Blessing then pulled a second gun from her robe, which the girlfriend was also able to get from her. The girlfriend then ran and called for help. When police got there, they took her out of the apartment. She said something along the lines of, "You took my life, so I'm taking yours." When asked what she thinks should happen to her, she said she should be put to sleep as a result of her actions.
All right, that was Danielle Miller there reporting. Going to get you all up to date with a lighter local story. Any Michael Jackson fans out there? MJ, the King of Pop. All right, for the millennials watching, do you know who Michael Jackson is? Please say yes. Okay, so it turns out there's a local collector here who's putting up some pretty awesome memorabilia for auction.
Okay, what you looking at?
Growing up, Arthur Phoenix was fascinated by the Jackson family.
1969, I'm sitting in front of the television, you know those old floor model televisions? And there it was, the Ed Sullivan Show. And when I laid eyes on Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, I said, that's my dream. I want to be like him.
Then he got the opportunity of a lifetime, working for the Jackson family right alongside a man he admired all his life, the king of pop. Having worked as the Jackson family estate publicist and personal manager to Tito Jackson, now he's auctioning off some items he's collected in years past, so die-hard Jackson fans can get a taste of the experience he once had.
A fan that get these is a fan that never had the chance to meet Michael, to even speak with Michael, and this will bring them closer to Michael, you know, by getting to know who Michael really was.
On Wednesday, Arthur will sell Jackson family memorabilia. Hit items like autographed albums, Thriller, Off the Wall, and ABC. Even some more unique items.
This was done at a private party after the world's famous victory tour in 1984.
Arthur says with the proceeds, he plans to give back to charities for children.
Michael's kind but sweet, gentle, and he's a giving human being. He loves to give, and he's full of joy. And
he says because that is what the king of pop would have done. Carmen Blackwell, Fox 10 News.
Wow, how would you like to have some of that signed memorabilia? You know, I am a Michael Jackson fan, I will admit it, and I heard there's like a tribute show in Las Vegas for him. I think that would be pretty cool to go to. I say that a lot, don't I? Pretty cool. All right, Matt Roldewald reporting on Monsoon Preps, because even though it officially started a couple weeks ago, and we did see rain when the monsoon first started, like that very first day, the valley saw rain. Surprisingly, no measurable rain at the airport, and so we still say that Phoenix is in a dry spell, even though the rest of the valley seemed to have gotten something. But since then, all's been quiet on the monsoon front, so people may or may not be getting ready. This next story is about doing just that.
With the valley on the doorstep of monsoon season for 2018, workers with the city of Mesa went through a series of drills to get ready for the rain ahead. Hands-on pumping work and getting drains clear of debris, all of it with a clear reminder of the catastrophic flooding from 2014. After 5 inches of rain fell in 6 hours on one September morning, and Emerald Park with a retention basin at full capacity, the water began to flow in the opposite direction into a neighborhood, damaging more than 200 homes and inundating an elementary school.
This is the low point of the system, so we spend all year just trying to keep these clean enough so that during a storm event, it will flow.
The drills today are to make sure that that never happens again and to clear all the garbage and debris out of the drains so that the water can flow. Reporting tonight, Matt Rodewald, Fox 10 News.
All right, thanks, Matt. Any of you preparing or have prepared? What do you do to get ready for that sort of weather season? I'm trying to think, aside from like having some extra food and water around the house, I don't know exactly what I personally do to prepare, but it's always good to be ready for an emergency, right? All right, this next story is in Florida. It's about Vets Cemetery. I'm trying to read here. Vets Cemetery flags.
It's kind of busy right now.
If you live in Rubonia,
What do you think?
you probably know Charles Miller Sr.
I'm a retired mailman.
The 69-year-old Vietnam veteran now runs Chuck's Convenience Store from 9 to 8, 7 days a week.
Keeps me out of trouble.
But even when he's not on the clock, he's still hard at work. Down Simbarco Road, which runs parallel to I-75, is Rubonia Cemetery. About 50 veterans are among those laid to rest here.
I got a couple uncles from World War II out there, and cousins, Vietnam.
The cemetery has been here since 1912, but for more than a century, no American flag has ever flown above these grave sites.
We always go out and put the little small flagpoles out on Veterans Days and Memorial Days. Without the flagpole, just let you know, a lot of people just forget about the veterans and stuff like that.
Miller went on a mission to change that. He held a yard sale in front of his store.
I raised about $650.
And with the help of the Manatee County Veterans Services Office, and Jewish Family and Children's Service of the Suncoast. They raised the $1,350 needed to raise the Stars and Stripes.
You can see it right off of 75 now, and it's flying. Hey, that's Robonian Cemetery, and I'm very pleased that it's there now. Should have been there a long time ago, but it's there now. So.
While Miller is a little sore from finishing the concrete work.
A lot of hard work went into it.
The sight of Old Glory flying in the breeze this 4th of July makes it all worthwhile.
As long as I live and as long as I live here, I'm going to always fight for this little small community. It's not a bad community. I love it. I live here.
Wow, never gets old to see beautiful flag pictures, footage like that, just especially blowing in the wind there. It's absolutely beautiful, Old Glory, and that's one of those heartwarming stories, somebody doing something for someone else. Certainly sweet. Well, you may or may not know, depending on if you're a first-time viewer, I feel like I say this a lot as well. Prior to moving back here to Phoenix, I was working in San Antonio, Texas, and the reason I'm mentioning it this time around is because this next story is in San Antonio, Texas. A baby was found dead during a drug raid. Let's watch.
The baby's body was found by narcotics investigators in this home during a raid. The baby was in a trunk in the closet.
And we don't know if it happened 6 months ago or 6 years ago.
Neighbors tell me the people in this home have been a problem for years.
For over 20 years, that's been a drug house over there. We've called and called and called the SAPD. They come out. Every time the yelling, screaming, and the matches go on.
Neighbors say it wasn't uncommon to see kids at the house.
We've seen like little toddlers go in and out of there. We've seen preteens. We've seen teenagers go in and out of there. But it's more adults than anything going in and out.
I cannot believe that somebody would do this to an innocent baby.
Child safety advocates say there are laws in place to protect babies from being raised in dangerous environments.
They could walk up to any medical facility or fire station with a baby Moses law, and they can turn that baby in and no questions asked, and that baby will be handed over to a safe individual who will ensure that that child's taken care of.
That was actually Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar giving that interview, saying that he doesn't know exactly how long that baby's been inside that home. It could have been 6 months or 6 years. So as you can imagine, the investigation is ongoing there. Well, as you know, we've been showing wildfires here on the News Now stream for days now. We were in California on Monday. Yesterday, we were in Utah. Arizona has already seen some wildfires. And even I heard that the Arizona Department of Transportation signs, the ADOT traffic signs, the electronic ones that have, sayings on them, are actually going to be warning people about the fire danger as they're heading up north here in Arizona for the 4th of July, saying, hey, make sure you're not dragging any chains behind your truck. Make sure you don't throw any cigarettes out the window, et cetera, because it's so dry out here, extreme drought. The fire danger is extremely high. This next story I have for you is about the situation ongoing with the western wildfires.
Fire crews across the western U.S. are fighting more than flames. They're battling something they have no control over: the weather. Intensely hot temperatures across the West only making matters worse for crews as they try to save homes and businesses. In Denver, a raging fire has already destroyed more than 100 homes in the Colorado mountains, forcing hundreds more evacuations as many families were planning to celebrate the 4th. The spring fire in Colorado, the largest, covering 123 square miles, about 5 times the size of Manhattan, to put it in perspective. And Utah in a similar situation with a raging wildfire near a popular fishing resort. Residents forced to evacuate are in shock at the possibility of losing their homes, as are some folks in Northern California. Nervous homeowners keeping a close eye on the flames.
It's been very scary. 1 minute it seems like it's going away, and the next minute it's flaring up again. So we're on watch.
And those wildfires sending a thick layer of smoke and ash south of the San Francisco area. More than 900 buildings are threatened. The massive blaze there causing some officials to cancel fireworks shows, urging folks in the area to stay indoors due to unhealthy air quality. So far, at least 2,500 residents have been told to evacuate. Also, due to the Independence Day holiday, officials are worried about things like campfires or fireworks only adding to the problem and possibly starting new fires as they work around the clock to knock down the out-of-control fires already burning. The only hope is a break in the hot, dry conditions, which isn't looking good right now, as temps are expected to remain hot across the western U.S. today. In Los Angeles, Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Marianne, I love that name for some reason. I just do. Speaking of dry, hot conditions, I've heard we're supposed to be getting extremely hot here, like 114 the next 2 days. Not looking forward to that, especially since I haven't lived in Arizona for the past few summers. So I'm like, even though I'm a native, I'm still a little nervous about what's ahead. Okay, well, we've already talked about the heat and dry conditions, and we've already talked about monsoon preps. Well, what about hurricane season? I have an outlook for you now.
Colorado State University released its seasonal forecast and says the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico will experience a below-average hurricane season. And that's for two reasons. One, the water temperature in the Atlantic Ocean right now is cooler than average. And two, we're in El Nino watch. And if El Nino fully develops, it's typically known for suppressing Atlantic hurricane seasons.
Obviously the big concern is, people shouldn't get lackadaisical when you forecast a below-average season, and likewise, if you forecast an above-average season, even in a very active season, most portions of the coast aren't going to be impacted in any year, but, it just takes that one storm to make it an active season for you, and I think that's the most important point you make every year is, you need to be prepared the same for every hurricane season.
This is Phil Klotzbach, a research scientist at Colorado State University. He, along with other experts, are behind the updated forecast, which lowered the number of major hurricanes this season from 7 to now 4.
I think it's more interesting because it's very possible that it could get worse. I'm actually relieved.
I think we're due for a big storm in this part of the world. It hasn't happened since 2012.
We can't let our guard down. I always like to say, you can predict 5 storms for a season, you can predict 15 storms for a season. All it takes is one really bad one to sort of ruin your day and can cause billions of dollars of damage even if you get nothing the rest of the seasons.
And that happened. In 1992, the same prediction of fewer major hurricanes was made, and then Hurricane Andrew formed, a deadly Category 5 hurricane that destroyed the Bahamas and Florida.
So the idea is this is an informational tool. It's not a preparedness tool. We never tell people, hey, we're forecasting an above average season. You got to prepare more or prepare less.
Regardless the prediction, this is a good time to make sure you have an emergency preparedness kit prepared with food, water for at least 3 days, flashlight, batteries, first aid supplies, and a plan on how to communicate with family if you lose power. And a reminder, hurricane season officially ends November 30th. On the Upper East Side, Reagan Medji, Fox 5 News.
Almost cut her off there, apologies, but November 30th, wow, that seems like a long ways away. It's past Thanksgiving. All right, this next story I have for you is in regards to Seattle City Hall shelter expanding. Let's take a listen.
This is the city's newest shelter space to house the homeless right here at City Hall off of 5th Avenue. This area is normally the lobby, but it will turn into a shelter. It's co-ed low barrier housing, meaning they're not checking sobriety or bags. And it's all part of Mayor Jenny Durkan's plan to get more people off the streets and inside City Hall at least overnight.
I don't sleep outside, not in Seattle, no.
But thousands do, curled up on the sidewalks and benches. But for others, there's a better option inside City Hall off 4th Avenue. That's where you'll find Lynn Sprague.
Come in, get on your mat, put your blanket down, no yelling, no screaming.
Mats down on the floor, numbered so repeat campers can find their spot from the night before. Men on one side, women on the other. Even service animals or therapy pets like Wiggles is allowed too.
They love her. Precious calls her the shelter dog.
And there's more beds available now off the 5th Avenue entrance starting tonight. This is the newest addition. During the workday, it's the lobby, but right now, it's a shelter.
If we're going to ask every part of the city to step up and help people get them off the street, I think it starts with City Hall.
After a failed head tax, Mayor Jenny Durkan promised to get 500 people off the streets. This is the start.
People want to know that every one of their elected officials is working as hard as they can to solve these problems that they see in our city.
But not everyone is convinced.
Action. Stop with the lip service and give us action. There are too many of us out on the street. More coming every day.
The city took action here, right next to the Space Needle, clearing out what used to be a growing homeless encampment. Cleaning up here and expanding in here sounds good to Bill Lester, who sleeps at City Hall.
It's a safe environment. Besides, who else could say that they live in the mayor's basement?
He's optimistic the city will help him find housing now that he's a working man and off drugs.
One of them little tiny houses. That's all I want. Place to live.
The Salvation Army says its volunteers will be the ones who will clean up after the shelter, and the mayor promises it will be a seamless transition from a shelter to business as usual at City Hall in the morning. Reporting from Seattle City Hall, Nadia Romero, Q13 News.
All right, just a friendly reminder, everybody, because I do have some people like hurricanes in Arizona, so you may be wondering why I played that story in regards to hurricane preparation. Remember, News Now, we have a global audience because we're on YouTube. We stream 11 hours a day from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Arizona time. So what does that mean? We have people across the world who watch, different countries, all over the place. Every day it changes too. We do have our regular viewers. Thank you to all of you who turn in each and every day. But we have some people who, you know, they might see a video or two, watch it, and then they're like, what is this News Now? And then they tune in the next day, or you never know. And we also don't know which part of the country viewers are in either. So you could be in Florida, you could be in Texas, you could be in New York, you could be in Oregon. You never know. So we like to kind of encompass stories from everywhere. So that way people are just up to date with news happening in their communities, especially weather-wise. We like for everybody to be prepared. Well, I'm going to wrap up today's top headlines segment. That's what I like to call it, top stories and headlines of the day, by showing you a 4th of July related stories in regards to how the founders of our country lived.
Good day, Mrs. Coyman.
Hello there, Martha Washington. Nice to meet you.
A pleasure. Welcome to Colonial Williamsburg.
I just can't wait to explore this revolutionary city.
Well, let's get started.
Okay, then. So we've made it to the musket range, of course, the most popular gun during the Revolutionary War.
Would you like to try one?
When in Colonial Williamsburg. Now, you have to remember I'm a novice here, so show me around.
So you want to cock that back, so just pull back to here, click. More gunpowder, just put that right in the pan there. Full cock, remove the leather, take aim.
We have 2 art museums here at Colonial Williamsburg, and I'd like to introduce you to our Chief Curator and Vice President, Ron Hurst.
Hi there.
Welcome. We have so many treasures in these 2 art museums. I'm so glad you're here to see them.
Can't wait to see the presidential portraits.
Lots of those.
This art museum is actually a great selfie spot. This portrait of George Washington is the same version used for the dollar bill. Cheese! So there are 24 trades here at Williamsburg. Can you name a few?
Sure, we have wig makers, silversmiths, mantua makers, tailors, leather workers, and of course, the blacksmith.
Ah, this is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Wonderful.
So what are we making today?
I'm going to be making a hook for the kitchen. We're almost done with the hook. I'll let you finish it up.
Okay, so we just need to fire it up first?
Right.
It's about 100 degrees today.
All right, so let's go over the bite. Right around.
Yeah, now it's nice and pretty. Real pretty.
Now, finally, you want to quench it in the water. So put it in the water to cool it off.
To quench its thirst.
The kitchen pot.
You sure I can touch that? Nice and safe. Very cool. What an absolutely magical day, but the cherry on top would be a dress as beautiful as yours.
Well, I think I could help you with that. I think Miss Dickinson's shop could serve you in that purpose.
Wearing a dress like this, what type of occasions?
This is actually day wear. Here you are, Mrs. Coyman.
Oh, thank you so much. You're like my fairy godmother. Bippity boppity boo. Ta-da! Oh, all I need is a prince and a hat.